Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann. I'm Daniela Bruce, soon to be joined by Art Regner and Carly Johnston. You can catch us right here every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you're watching. Make sure you turn on your live notifications so you don't miss a single second of the Word on Woodward. But if you do, that's okay because we have a Word on Woodward YouTube page now. All of our past interviews are on that YouTube page. So check that out. You can also listen to the show as a podcast on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Throughout today's show, as always, we want to hear your thoughts, your questions, your comments. Make sure you're commenting wherever you are watching. You can even do it on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever you want. Use the hashtag Word on Woodward. We will try to find your questions and do our best to get them on later in the show. As always, we've got a slew of great guests for you. MLB Network's John Morosi will be joining us shortly. We've got interviews with former Tiger Danny Wirth, Tigers beat writer Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic, and an interview from yesterday with today's starting pitcher, Tarek Skubal, for game one of the Tigers doubleheader. And the most exciting thing, we've got an exclusive Q&A with Red Wings general manager Steve Yzerman, so you're definitely going to want to hang around for that one. I know my partner, Art Regner, is very excited. He loves Steve Yzerman, as you all know. It's our keyword here. It's one of our bingo card terms. So, Art, he's finally going to be on the show today. We've made some room for him. Are you excited?
Well, yeah, I don't know if love is might be overstating it a little bit, but I
Oh,
do
come on. I'm
admire,
understating it.
admire and respect him certainly, and I do say that it's good to see that Steve's hair is growing back. So that's about all I want to say on that. The last time I saw him was rather shocking on a Zoom call, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Look, Steve is really, really busy and really, really focused, and especially in the first week in October, the draft is going to come up. I know he's really looking forward to that. I think you saw last night just what Tampa was able to do, and Kucherov scoring that goal, Steve's draft pick, and not a first round pick, by the way, a guy that the Red Wings passed on 4 times, by the way, in that draft before Steve nabbed him. So I'm ready to hear Steve and see what he has to say. I know he's chomping at the bit. I know he'd like to see the Red Wings on the ice as soon as possible. But then again, is it probable? At this point, it's 2020. God only knows what the next day is going to bring, let alone when the Red Wings are going to hit the ice again.
Well, we do know when the Tigers are going to take the field, and that's going to be today for a doubleheader against St. Louis. Art, the first topic of our Big Three presented by our friends at Chevy. We're going to talk about the Tigers game last night, but not too long because we know it was not good. The Tigers lost 19-0 in the second game with Milwaukee. I don't know how they did look so different from game one to game two of that series. But when we take a look at what happened with Matt Boyd, we were talking about him yesterday on our pregame show and how he needed to up his game to the next level. Unfortunately, last night, it seemed like he took a step back. Art, what was the problem?
I just don't think he had, again, it comes down to command. And, his changeup wasn't working very, very well. It seemed that, St. Louis was just kind of sitting on or pardon me, I'm thinking about today's game already. The Brewers were the, why? Because I flushed it out. Yesterday's game, I have flushed out. It's a historic loss, 19-0. Hey, forget about it. But going back to Matt Boyd, just nothing was working for him. And I think he got more and more frustrated. It's really, if you look at his previous 3 starts to what happened yesterday, is it an anomaly? You hope it is, because the Tigers, if they're going to do anything, they need their starting pitchers to go long into ball games, except for Michael Fulmer, because he's a special case with Tommy John surgery. But they're going to need to step it up on the mound and their starting pitchers. So was it a step back for Matt Boyd? Yeah, obviously it was a step back for Matthew Boyd. But is he more than capable of turning it around? And I know we sound like a broken record here, but he really, really is. I just think yesterday's game is one of those games, Daniela, as I said, you kind of flesh it out. There isn't much to do. There isn't much to talk about. You don't even feel that bad or disappointed. Sometimes you get spanked, right? It just happens. You move on, and it's a quick turnaround. And that might be really, truly the best thing for the Tigers today, is that they don't have time to think about it. No sooner was that game over, they're on Redbird 2 or 3 or whatever Redbird it is this time. Whatever incarnation the team plane is this one. Red Wings and Tigers share the same plane. And they boom onto that, go to St. Louis, then they have to turn around and play, a really tough Chicago team. So there's no time to sulk. There's no time to really think about it. I think that, the boys have flushed it out. They're focused in on the Cardinals. They're still in this thing, even though they got creamed 19-0, it counts as one loss. It's only one in the, and nobody from now, I'm not going to be sitting here 5 years from now and saying, remember 2020 when the Tigers were smacked around by the Brewers 19-0? No, forget about it. Move on. Not a good game. Nothing real positive to say except Willie Castro. He received the Word on Woodward headliner bump. That guy's just been on fire before and after. He had a couple of hits. That was good to see. So, that's my positive. What I take out of that is that Willie Castro got a couple of hits. That's about it. And we talked about, we knew Milwaukee's starting pitcher was good. He had a lot of strikeouts going into the game. I keep wanting to say Corbin Burnson, because he must be named after after that actor. But he was lights out. He was definitely lights out. And sometimes you just gotta, as I said, flush it out, move forward. I'm sure that's what the Tigers are going to do.
Exactly, Art. You said it best. Hopefully this is an anomaly for them because they looked way better on Tuesday than they did on Wednesday. And sometimes it's just what happens, especially in baseball. So like the Tigers, we are going to move forward with this one, our second topic of the big three. Let's bring in Carly Johnston for our clubhouse notes. Carly, I know that you heard from Matt Boyd and Ron Gardenhire after last night's game. Yeah. I'm not sure what they could actually say about it, but what did you get out of that?
Well, and that's why I'm not going to say too much about it. I'm not going to talk about the game. We all know it wasn't the best Tigers game. So instead of me talking about it, let's hear from Ron Gardenhire, who spoke to the media after the game.
You know what? That wasn't fun, and we tried to survive. We had to use bullpen, which doubleheader tomorrow, and then 3 more games in a row with the White Sox. So a lot of things that came out of that don't help. And obviously we had to make some roster moves to try to, add on to our bullpen and pitchers. So a lot of bad things happen when some game goes like that one, and it went awry pretty quick. And you know what? It's only one game, and we'll go on from there.
Exactly. It's only one game. It's only one loss. We don't have to look at the scoreboard. That doesn't count when you look at the season as a whole. It's just one loss. Moving on to today, we have 2 games. Hopefully we can pick that up and get 2 wins. But starting pitcher Matt Boyd allowed 6 runs in 3 innings, as we know. Not as good of a start as he's been having as of late. And when asked how he bounces back from a day like that, he said he looks at every game as a learning experience, good or bad. So let's hear it in his words.
It's really hard to label things as good or bad, even when the results are good or bad. You just take it for what it is. And there were things last week that I learned a ton from. There are things, today that I learned a lot from. And we'll go for, we take that, make your adjustment, and you keep going forward. We're on the right path in terms of the one that we've been treading and blazing down. So just keep at it and keep working. And, luckily we got a doubleheader tomorrow, so we get to go out there and play 2 games tomorrow, which is an awesome opportunity for us.
Amazing how we can stay positive and see the silver lining in each situation. But again, like he said, and like I just said earlier, we're looking ahead to a doubleheader today for the Tigers against the Cardinals, looking to pull themselves out of that hole that they dug themselves yesterday. Put the loss behind them and start raking in those W's again. What do you think, Art and Daniela?
Well, Carly, the good news has to be that the Tigers are still a game and a half back from that last wild card spot. So it's really not as bad as that loss felt yesterday. It's really not that bad. They're still there. And as long as they can turn things around quickly for today's doubleheader, I think they're good.
Exactly. We go pick up 2 wins today. And then we'll just put that 19-0 score right behind us.
Obviously, after today, they're playing Central Division rivals and opponents. I mean, are they in the Central Division race? Probably not. But they're definitely in the wild card race, as we've said. If you look at it, St. Louis, a doubleheader today, and then it's heavy Chicago, heavy Cleveland, Kansas City, a few more left with Minnesota, but they played 6 games against the Royals. That could be their make or break. That could be their Waterloo. They need to really bounce back today. I really can't wait for Matthew Boyd's motivational DVD to come out, because there was a guy that was, I mean, he was like, hey, but that's good. That's why he's a leader. That's why guys like Mize and Scooble gravitate to him in the dugout, because, yeah, sure, it wasn't a good game, but the counts as one. And, he goes through all the cliches, but he looks at it much deeper. And, what I really like what Matthew Boyd had to say was this: look, we've got a great opportunity here. Yeah, we lose a ball game, and he knows he has to pick it up, and he needs to pick it up. He needs to pick it up. He knows that. But with all that said, look where we're at. We are on the cusp of the wild card here. Yeah. So sure, this was disappointing, but I'm looking past that, and I'm looking what's ahead of us. And the road ahead for the Tigers, certain things have to fall into place, and they certainly have to play better. Definitely starting pitching has to pitch better, but they have an opportunity here. That's why I really like Matthew Boyd. That's why I find him refreshing, because his outlook is always positive, and you need that. You really need that. He's not waving pom-poms. That wasn't a guy who was, give me a T, give me an I, give me a G, Tigers, he wasn't doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, really. Yeah. That's what we have you for, and you, Daniela. I would be just like the big float, and you two would be like with the pom poms, and I would just be screaming, "Tigers, Tigers!" And you would be going, "Go team, go! Go team, go!" Maybe I missed the call.
Stick around and do that.
Maybe I could have been a cheerleader. Who knows? That was pretty good. I've got that down. Pom-poms. I've always been fascinated with pom-poms. That could be a whole Freudian thing. I don't know about that. But what I'm saying is this: Boyd's got it down. I think that's good. I thought it was refreshing. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm done.
Thank you, Carly.
One thing I do want to say, I'll tell you this. Matt Boyd.
I need a little more caffeine.
No, you don't.
One thing that Matt Boyd said that I really liked that didn't make the soundbite was he said baseball in his career, it's linear. So keep going forward. There's no looking back. And Art, I'm going to tell you that right now. No backtracking on the mailbag today, because I know Mark wants you to keep it linear. All right.
Linear.
Hey, I'm taking Matt Boyd's words to heart. I am moving forward. I'm focused. I have flushed that 19-0 loss out.
Love it.
It's gone.
Moving on.
Charlie, even play yesterday.
We'll see you later in the show, guys. Make sure you're sending in your questions using the hashtag #WordOnWoodward. Art, we're going to move on. Linear, talking about the starting lineups for today's doubleheader. We'll look at game 1 first. We know that Tarek Skubal will be on the mound for the Tigers, and we've got the same 4 at the top of the batting order, and then you see Willie Castro in that 5 slot, and most notably, Daz Cameron is in the lineup again at the 7 slot, starting in right field. So, Art, what do you think in looking at this lineup initially?
Well, obviously, this is almost a standard lineup. There's a few changes at the bottom depending on who's playing third or something, but I like it. I think the Tigers have been really hitting pretty well. They're starting to hit a stride here. I'm not really worried about the hitters. Certainly, it's inconsistent. It's baseball. The best teams are the teams that are most consistent. It seems like hitting has come around. A big fan of Reyes, obviously. Scope is getting better. I think he's starting to pick it up a little bit. Miggy is Miggy. I'm not really worried about him. When they need a big hit, he still delivers for the most part. Then the Candyman is having a breakout year. He could be. I don't know if they have a comeback player of the year, and maybe this year they won't because of 2020 and COVID-19. Maybe just them getting the season together, they should all win comeback player of the year just to be able to pull it off. But and Willie Castro, young shortstop, seems to find his groove. Nico Goodrum is a big loss, but what we're seeing is guys stepping up, and I really think that Castro has really done that. Bonifacio, I mean, every time I see a picture of him, he's still in a Kansas City hat. You know what I mean? So where did this guy come from? Well, Kansas City. But with that said, I just think that Bonifacio has really, really been good. He's got, I think, and I have to double check this, but with the bases loaded this year, he's hitting 1,000. He's gotten a hit every time. I think he's 4 for 4 or 5 for 5. So Bonifacio, really good. Daz Cameron, hopefully he gets some hits today, gets his first major league hit. Grayson Griner, I think, has played really, really well. He's got a little bit of a pop in his bat. And, Paredes, I think, is, he's got to settle down a little bit. He hit, not that hitting the grand slam was the worst thing that ever happened to him, because it wasn't, but he's kind of realizing it may not be quite as easy as getting up there and hitting a grand slam. So, but I like this Tigers lineup. I really do. I think they've got I like the mixture of it. We've got a couple of switch hitters in there. Then it's heavy right-handed hitting, at least in game 1 today. So I think that I think the boys are a little bit angry, even though they flushed it out. Yesterday's loss, and I think they're going to be raking, as Carly likes to say.
Yeah. And they're PO'd, as I like to say. So yes, they're going to come out strong.
Well, you like to say that. You like to say that a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Art. I think, well, that wraps it up for today's Big Three, presented by Chevy. Chevy cares. That is why Chevy Clean dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers before delivering your vehicle after purchase or service. So when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. All right, everybody, it is time now for the mailbag delivered to you by Little Caesars. And today's guest is John Morosi of MLB Network. John was at Comerica Park yesterday. I saw him doing some work. The Tigers actually had the game of the week yesterday, and it was on YouTube. So, John, first of all, welcome. And my first question to you, I'm sorry you had to witness that Tigers game, actually. I know you wanted to get a better game than that. But was that an anomaly? We talked about that a little bit in our last segment. Was that an anomaly for this Tigers team?
Well, good morning, Daniela and Art. I think so. This team is playing, in my view, better than expected this year. They've arrived earlier than anybody really anticipated to the playoff race here in 2020. And I think certainly, as you pointed out, it was an inconsistent start for Boyd. And Corbin Burns was so great that if the Brewers had scored 1 run, they would have been able to win still. That's how dominant Burns was. And Milwaukee didn't even have to go to their A relievers like Devin Williams and Josh Hader. So I would say to not get too hung up on the outcome. That was just a tough day to win no matter what. And now it's on to St. Louis. And the Tigers are still very close in the loss column to the Yankees in the wild card race. They've got a chance here. And I think overall the big picture has to be kept in mind. This team is in the race. There are 2.5 weeks left. We have meaningful baseball in September in this town for the first time in 4 years, actually. So that there's a lot to like about the way this team has played. And I think now Skubal, to me, has been one of the more consistent starters they've had recently. He seems to be very comfortable on the big stage. So he's exactly who I think Rod and Gardenhire wants on the mound for this game 1.
John, that leads us nicely into our first mailbag question, and it is for you. Bill from West Bloomfield wants to know, we're all pretty pumped about how the Tigers look this year. What is the perception of teams around the league on the Tigers right now?
Well, thanks, Bill, for the question. The Tigers, to me, they're in a very tough division, and they may show signs of progress that are hard to see in their record at times, because it's a legitimate 3-team race right now ahead of them for first in the division. I think the White Sox, to me, have a chance to go to the World Series this year. The Indians do as well. I think with how well they pitched, they were able to trade Clevenger and got back a number of players they hope will help them address some of their offensive deficiencies there in the outfield. The Twins, obviously, you see it right there, just a game back. They're very competitive, too. The Royals, a young club, of course, managed by the University of Michigan product, Mike Matheny, and I think they're getting better and better as time goes on as well. They missed a couple key guys during the course of the summer, and I think now they're getting back and playing some pretty competitive baseball too. So I think overall, to Bill's question, it's a division where a lot of competitive teams are playing right now, and the Tigers, I think, are in that class, maybe along with the Orioles, where teams around the league are saying, hey, this is not a an easy victory here against this team this season. And I think certainly some of that might be the shortened season and the ability to have a surprise over a short period of time. But I think a lot of it is, to Art's point earlier, Willie Castro looks like an everyday player. You look around the infield, and Jeimer Candelario looks like an everyday player. Victor Reyes in center field is an everyday player. So if you were to tell me that this year that you were going to have Skubal come up along with Mize, of course, Skubal's pitched better than Mize so far, but that you would see Skubal come in and really settle into the rotation in a way that leads you to believe that he's going to be part of it for a long time, and then that you would have 3 everyday position players who you feel very strongly are part of the next competitive Tigers team, that's a pretty good season.
Definitely. I think that is what we need to take away from what has been a crazy season all around, everywhere, really, not even just baseball. So yes, I do agree the Tigers are showing some depth too, which is something that has been lacking in the past few years here. Your question is a hockey question, and Tim from Livonia asks, given the way the playoffs unfolded and the cap situation the Bruins are in, is the door more open to welcome Torey Krug back home? I love this question, and I think we've talked about this before, but I will continue to talk about it until we know that it is not happening.
Well, first of all, I just want to say to JP, I don't know if he knows this, but I volunteer at the Detroit Institute of Arts, the DIA. Outstanding artwork behind you. I think you're harboring some artists. I love the color combination. I love the depth. I love the perception. You go from everywhere from an everyday, like American Gothic kind of picture to, some sort of abstract stuff. And then the color combination, very, very nice. Very nice.
Thank you, Art.
No, seriously.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I really mean it. I really, and I don't know if the book's behind you, but it looks like you might even have the Harvard Classics or something behind you as well. So, I mean, you've got it going today, JP. I really mean it. As far as Torey Krug goes, first of all, the question's from Livonia. So I'm not sure if this is one of Krug's family members or not, but our good buddy Ansar Khan on M Live actually wrote about this today in his question and answers. It's interesting. I didn't think that there was a snowball's chance in Hades that Torey Krug would leave the Boston Bruins and come to the Red Wings. Unfortunately, the Red Wings, as we know, are the worst team in the league at this point, or at least the record says that. And would he leave a potential Stanley Cup team and come home? However, Torey Krug gave kind of an exit interview last week with the Boston Press, and he's going to test free agency. I think he still wants to stay in Boston, but I do think the Red Wings need somebody like Torey Krug. He has a history. He won a championship in the USHL with Jeff Blashill. Jeff Blashill loves him. I know Dylan Larkin absolutely loves him. They were together on the team that Blashill coached, the World Championship team, Team USA, a couple of years ago. Krug and they just go on and on and on about him, and they really like Torey Krug a lot. And I might be thinking of Quinn Hughes instead of Torey Krug on the last thing I just said. But anyway, they still like him. I know Blashill still likes him. I know Larkin has he's from here. He's from Livonia. His whole family's from here. And I'm really, really interested to see. The Red Wings have the money. The Red Wings have the money. They have the cap space to sign him. And this will go off. Steve does not want to sign anybody, Steve Yzerman, that is, more than 1 or 2 years at this point till the Red Wings are good, except if it's a really elite high-end player. And Krug is a power play specialist. That the Red Wings power play is woeful. That's the guy they need. Could they go 7 years? I know Ansar speculated it. And I can see Steve probably shelling out maybe a long-term deal for Torey Krug with a cap hit of around $7 million a year. I think that makes sense. I got a real interesting story. Tom Anastas, the former Michigan State hockey coach, is a really good friend of mine. And Tom, when Krug left Michigan State, I was talking to Tom because I was doing a lot of CCHA work at that time. And it was before they became the Big Ten Conference and the CCHA blew up. And I said to him, well, Tom, how's the team look this year? And the first words out of his mouth, and I'll never forget it, people are going to finally realize just how good a player Torey Krug is because he didn't have him. You know what I mean? And it stuck with me. We both kind of laughed, but it was very, very truthful. Krug was not drafted. He was a free agent. Boston signed him, and he's been nothing but a great player, an elite level, especially on the power play. A guy Krug's size, you've got to remember, and Jeff Blashill has said this over and over, if you're the size of Torrey Krug, you have to do everything well, very well, and then you have to do something exceptional because he's a smaller guy, and that's what you need. You need something, and his calling card is the power play. Red Wings need help on the power play. He's local. Livonia, Michigan State, bam. I think they'll make a play for him, whether or not, especially what Krug said last week. I got the feeling that it's not a given, and this could be negotiation too. I mean, hey, I'm going to test your agency. I'm going to leave, maybe. But then the Bruins and, oh my gosh, we can't lose Torrey Krug. But I kind of look at it this way too. Chara wants to come back. Boston was eliminated. They got kind of hosed in that play-in thing where they were the 4th seed and they won the President's Trophy. They should have probably just been the number 1 seed. And I think that the Bruins probably want something to prove. I think that core group wants to stay together next year and win a cup, and kind of erase what happened to them in the playoffs this year. So I do think that's going to be a determining factor. But the money's there, the term will be there, and the Red Wings want him, whether or not. But now it comes down to Torrey Krug. I'm sure Steve will negotiate a deal with him. So I know I'm saying all kinds of things. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth as usual here. I think there's interest there. I think that from the Red Wings point, is Krug interested? If he is, then I think, let's make a deal. And I think the Red Wings will make a deal with him, but it's really up to Torrey Krug. I know that's a really long answer, but I that's how I feel.
John, unfortunately, we don't have much more time with you, but we're going to have you come back on the show and talk some hockey too, because I know you're a big hockey fan, and that's an interesting subject. The Red Wings will definitely make some sort of splash in free agency, so we'll have you come back for that one. But your question is a Tigers question. Jill from Battle Creek. Despite yesterday's game, the Tigers are 10-6 in interleague play this year. Is this just a sign of an improving team, or does this show how strong the AL Central is?
Well, great anticipation by Jill, because her question spoke to what we talked about a moment ago about the strength of the AL Central. I think right now the AL Central deeper than the NL Central. And I think that's part of the reason why you've seen the Tigers have greater success, perhaps out of the division in these crossover games, if you will, in this very unique schedule this season than they even had in their own division. So I would say, to Jill's question, very tough division. I think I expected the Reds to be a better club this year than they have been. I expected the Cardinals to be better this year than they have been. Of course, they had the interruption to their season due to COVID early on. They've never really fully gotten themselves back on track, although certainly today, facing Jack Flaherty, a very tough assignment, one of the best young righty pitchers in the game, the Tigers will face this afternoon. So I think overall, to Jill's point, it's a great call by Jill. I think the AL Central right now better than the NL Central, which is why you're seeing this imbalance in the way these games have played out. And I do think, Danielle and Art, it's going to be a challenge for the Tigers to get back to the playoffs in the next couple of years simply because of how good the rest of the division is. So I would say to Tigers fans, enjoy the improved caliber of play and the new players that have really established themselves now as everyday players, and let's not focus too much on exactly what the record says, because the record may not reflect just how much talent the Tigers now have on the field. When you add Jacoby Jones to that mix, when he's healthy, that's a pretty good team there on the field with a lot of young talent.
Definitely. It's an exciting year no matter what ends up happening here at the end of the season. One more question for you guys. It's both John and Art. John, will have you answer first. Carrie from Indianapolis asks, the Cardinals' schedule is wild, including the doubleheader with the Tigers. They would have played 10 games in 8 days. What kind of leg up does this give the Tigers?
Yeah, that's a great question by Carrie. I think it certainly can give the Tigers an advantage. And yesterday, I think you saw Ron Gardenhire, once the game started to unravel, just manage your bullpen a little more conservatively and use the guys that you're maybe not going to have to count on during the course of a doubleheader in which you hope to try to win a couple ball games. It's always hard to sweep a doubleheader from a quality opponent. St. Louis still is a quality opponent, but I like the Tigers' chances to get at least one game today. And really, Danielle and Art, if you can just keep staying in that conversation, at least splitting the series that you play, hopefully winning series a little bit down the stretch, you'll be there in the conversation. You'll be playing for something, I believe, in the last several days of the season.
Art, what do you think?
I agree with JP on this one. I think the Tigers are coming off a stretch where they've played 13 games in 14 days with this doubleheader today. So I think the whole key is going to be if Skubal can keep duplicating what he's done his last couple of starts. If he can set them off, because Jordan Zimmerman's starting the second game, which I'm a little shocked by. I'll be honest with you, but he has something to prove too. So I think that where the Tigers are at right now and what St. Louis season has been like, I think that if I'm the Cardinals, I'm just happy to be playing. Seriously, I'm just happy to be, we're starting to find our groove a little bit. So I don't know in 2020 with the amount of games that all these teams are playing, if there's one distinct advantage. Of course, the advantage would be pitching and how your pitching staff is. That's why, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I really do believe if it is an advantage today, it'll be because Skubal and Zimmerman are going to go, these are 7-inning games, can give them at least 5, if not 6 quality innings. Don't tax that bullpen. Let the Tigers hitters, do their thing. They're free swingers. They like to put the ball in play. And we'll talk about this a little bit later in the show, but both the Cardinal starters, they're aggressive. They want to challenge hitters. They want them to hit the baseball. Tigers are more than willing to oblige to something like that. So a bit of an advantage perhaps, but I don't think as much as an advantage as when you look at the stat. It's, oh my gosh, the Cardinals are going to be exhausted or something. These guys had, what they have, like 3 weeks off to start the season. I don't think they're exhausted, but the pitching staff is taxed. I will say that. That's the big key in the amount of games that they have to play in a short period of time. But anyway, JP, I just want to say something again very quickly to you. I loved your tweet this morning. I can't believe it's been 10 years since Denard Robinson just tore up Notre Dame. One of the greatest performances by a Michigan quarterback ever. He might have gone to Harvard, but somehow I think this man's heart is maize and blue.
Well, thanks, Art. That was a great memory. And, of course, 9 years ago today was the game under the lights of the Big House, 2011. So basically almost exactly 1 year apart, those two great performances by Denard. What an exciting player he was. Always loved watching him play. Kept you on the edge of your seat. Just an incredible player, great ambassador, I think, for the program as well. So I think for a lot of people, just loved watching him play. I think even regardless of your allegiance, he was just a really exciting, great college football player.
No doubt.
I can attest to that because I'm sorry you are.
Right, but Danielle is if Daniela were to open up her closet door behind her, she has a poster of Denard Robinson in the maize and blue, tearing up his curtain. So
not that far. Well, John, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We really do appreciate it. Like I said, we'll have to have you back to hopefully talk some postseason baseball or maybe some NHL draft free agency. So again, thank you for joining us, and we'll definitely be having you back soon.
Anytime. Thanks for having me. Always enjoy the conversation.
Thanks, you, John. JP. And also a big thank you to Little Caesars for delivering the mailbag. Little Caesars proudly introduces their hot and ready pepperoni cheeser. You get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no-contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars. You guys, we've still got some great interviews coming up today. Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic will join us. Senior content producer Dana Wakiji will also be here. And we've got an exclusive interview from yesterday with Tarek Skubal coming up in Brush Street Beat. But right now, we're going to catch up with Carly.
That's right. It's time for Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. And today, I'm joined by former Tigers player Danny Worth. How's it going, Danny?
Good. How are you?
Good. Very good. Thank you. All right. Let's talk about what you're up to in life after baseball. What's going on with Danny Worth?
I have family, 3 kids. Wife and I are busy with that. Age 6, 3, and 1. And I am currently coaching at Pepperdine University, baseball, my alma mater.
Very cool. How exciting. You're at your alma mater and beautiful 3 kids. Congratulations. But let's talk about your time with the Tigers, okay? So you were at the club from 2010 to 2014 and appearing on their postseason roster in 2011 and 2012. What was that experience like? I mean, especially having won the AL championship in 2012.
Last, it was like a dream come true, just playing on the biggest stage in the playoffs in the big leagues. The competition, the talent that you get to play against in the playoffs, nothing beats it. So an experience I'll remember forever and I'll cherish, and still talk about frequently with a lot of people. And although we lost and we never won a World Series, it's extremely special to me.
I'm sure. Okay, so let's elaborate. Excuse me. I'm sure. Okay, now let's elaborate on that a bit. Can you talk to me a little more about making your way to the World Series that year? Was it a total pinch me moment?
Yeah, it was a strange year. I got called up and sent down a ton of times. I don't even remember the count. It was so much. I'm sure I could look that up, but I never have. And then all of a sudden, boom, making the postseason roster. That was unexpected, and extremely thankful for Leland and whoever else decided to bring me on. But in terms of like the team and throughout the year, we had the talent on paper, or they did, and it was just a great experience to be a part of that and to be teammates with them and see them, each individually work and compete and come together and achieve something great.
Okay, you talk about your team as a whole. What kind of special bond do you form with your teammates, especially going to something like the World Series, which every player wants to experience in their lifetime?
There's just a collective goal that everyone has, and the closer you get to it, it's becomes more realistic, and there's more focus and energy and drive to get there. And as the season progresses, the stakes get high and people can start tasting it, and the momentum builds up, and it's a lot of fun just seeing that evolution, come about throughout the year. And once you get there, you celebrate for a split second, and then it's on to the division series. Which was extremely hard that year. I think we played the A's. I thought they were the best team that year personally. They were just great. The Oakland Stadium that year was one of the loudest series and games and stadiums I've ever been a part of. And, just all that energy in the air, in that series, it was something I'll remember forever. And then we played the Yankees the next series. I think we swept them, and then we had a layoff, which was maybe a little unfortunate. People will talk about going into the World Series, and then in the World Series we got spanked and swept ourselves. But that whole journey and just the attention and the support by the fans, by friends, by family, teammates, it just makes it a really special thing. To be a part of.
I love it. Okay, and you accomplished all of this with the same team, the Tigers, the team that drafted you in 2007. How amazing. And what was it like making your big league debut finally in 2010?
It was amazing. Detroit and the organization, when I hear the word Tigers or people talk about baseball and the Tigers, even still, I just get, a great feeling comes over me, and it's just a special place in my heart. They gave me an opportunity. They believed in me enough to draft me, to promote me level to level, to give me a chance, at each of those levels. And then in the big leagues, just to have that experience. And, there's a big part of you earning that experience. And then there's a big part of people believing in you and giving you that credit. And it's just, it was a great time in my life. And there's a lot of good people, or there was, in that organization when I came up all the way through, all the way up top, and lifelong friends, and a lot of stuff I learned from people. So it was an amazing journey.
Once in a lifetime experience. That's amazing. Okay. Now, this is something that stood out to me that I have to ask you about when I was doing my research. Okay. So you were an infielder for the Tigers, but you pitched a couple times, right? How did that come about?
It came about because we were getting torched by the Rangers, and maybe there was a stretch where our bullpen needed some saving and some rest. And Osmus, manager at the time, he actually ambushed me, came up to me in like the eighth inning, and I think I pitched the ninth. Came up to me in the eighth inning and said, "Hey, can you throw? Can you pitch?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do whatever you want." Leland used to make me run up to the clubhouse and get some errands for him in game. I'll just do whatever the coaches ask. And then when I told him, I was like, "Yeah, I'll pitch," he said, "Make sure you throw the knuckleball." Or he maybe asked, like, "Are you going to throw the knuckleball?" And I said, "If you do, I don't, is that okay in this situation?" Losing and having everyone kind of feel down. You don't want to make a mockery of the situation. But he's like, "Yes, throw the knuckleball." Because I always used to mess around with it. I always threw it to everybody for fun every day of my life. And it was a pretty good one. I used to hit people, just playing catch. I would try to make it dance so it hit them type of thing. And everyone knew about it. So, he wanted me to throw it. Went down the bullpen, warmed up, got out there and just threw the knuckleball. And it was a fun time, even though we were losing. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, right. I mean, hey, it is what it is. All right. And I have to ask you, so having or being a coach for your alma mater, do you look at these kids that you're coaching and see a little bit of yourself in them?
Yeah, you see the dream and the passion of baseball. You see the dream of getting to the big leagues one day. You have to take it one step at a time. You have to play high school, college, minor league ball, all the way up. And just to see them in that time, I could 100% relate to a lot of the stuff they're going through, a lot of their dreams, ambitions, everything. And I think, I try to give them a good perspective on it, the work it takes to get there, what it means to get there, how to have a deeper meaning in the game than just achieving that goal, because you can't just have that goal or play the game for that reason alone. There has to be a deeper meaning behind it that you enjoy day in and day out. But it's great to see them go for it and work and be excited about it at their stage of their careers.
That's awesome. Well, they definitely have a good role model to talk to about that. Okay, so now let me ask you about today's team. I know you're out in California, so you probably don't get the Tigers broadcast, but what do you like with what you're seeing? I mean, they're in this playoff hunt, and you can definitely relate to that. So is this a team you have faith in?
Just the fact that they're in a playoff hunt is exciting, and for fans of Detroit, I mean, you just want the opportunity to go there. You want to have the chance to have it in your own hands to dictate the outcome. And the fact that they are there, that's great. All the more power to them. It obviously creates buzz and excitement, and it will push them harder. And as a fan of any sports team, in Detroit in particular right now, it's pretty cool to go to a game and have that, because a lot of the times, in baseball, if we talk about, there's teams that throw away years for rebuilding and stuff, but when they're actually going for it, knowing the fans are getting their money's worth, that's a great place to be.
Absolutely. Okay, now you talked about the fans. Having played ball in front of thousands of fans, can you imagine these guys out there playing in front of no fans at all at the stadium?
I can't. I never did that. I mean, maybe when I was younger, there's no fans, but to play in a big league game, having that the electricity that's in the air, the roars, the boos, those are the things that you look back, or I look back, and I'm, happy that I had that experience. So to have no fans and to hear crickets and to hear people in the dugout talking or whatever's going on right now, it would be an unusual experience. But it looks like they're doing great with it. They're still competing and not skipping a beat. I think they know what's on the line. They know, they have to be in the moment regardless of fans or not. And that's where you want to be as a player. You want to let, if in a normal circumstance, you want the lift you up only, and motivate you in a positive way. So I think they're finding out how to do that without fans, which is interesting.
Exactly. It's a good season for the Tigers, especially after last season, but it's definitely a weird season. Well, Danny, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me on Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. It's been an absolute pleasure. Go Tigers.
Yeah, good luck to them. And thank you anytime.
Thank you, Carly. Great to hear from Danny there. And you're looking at a shot from St. Louis Busch Stadium, where the Tigers will be facing off in a doubleheader against the St. Louis Cardinals. First pitch of the first game is at 2:15. Right now, we're going to bring Carly in and get into Bet You Didn't Know, presented by PointsBet Sportsbook, an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers. You guys, the Tigers and Cardinals will meet for the first time this season after games scheduled earlier in the year were postponed due to the COVID-19 outbreak among the Cardinals team. During the outbreak, obviously, the Cardinals were forced to miss an extended period of time, and they're now facing a very, very condensed and compressed schedule. St. Louis had a rare off day yesterday, but before that, they played 10 games in 8 days. So you've got to question if they're going to be worn down or if fatigue will be any factor in today's game. But despite all of the hurdles they face, they're only they are 1 game above 500 and second in the NL Central, 3 games behind the Chicago Cubs. So they're very much in a playoff position, and they're battling just like the Tigers will be. So I don't want to get into too much if the fatigue will be an advantage or not, because like Art mentioned in the mailbag, all of the teams are playing a lot of games right now. But Art, I do want you to focus on the pitching matchup. Tarek Skubal on the mound for the Tigers and Jack Flaherty for the Cards. What can we expect from this pitching matchup?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, actually, I want to look at all the pitching matchups because there is a game too, especially with Zim is back. Jordan Zimmerman being back. I think when you look at the Tigers' 2 starting pitchers, we kind of know. It kind of sounds weird. We kind of know exactly what Skubal's going to do. He's going to challenge hitters. His fastball's working. I know we're going to redo. Show the interview that he did with Carly yesterday on our special pregame Word on Woodward show we did before the Tigers game against. He talked about being confident, and and that's been the differences last. The last couple of games, and I think he is confident. Jordan Zimmerman, I mean, he's an 11-year veteran, and we don't have an idea how he's going to pitch. So it's kind of not unsettling, but Skubal, we know he's making his 5th start in the major leagues. Zimmerman, who has been here 11 years, I mean, so I'm kind of like, oh boy, I guess what I'm trying to say is this, as I expect more from Skubal, and I know what he's going to do. I don't, in Zimmerman, if he can give them anything, much like I kind of look at Zim coming back right now as being when the Tigers acquired Woody Fryman and Doyle Alexander years ago for a playoff run, and they were lights out. Now, granted, there's only 2.5 weeks of the season, but if Zimmerman can come back and give them something, because their starting pitching really needs to solidify itself and go long in games, that would be great. Now, on St. Louis's side, they've got Jack Flaherty, who is he's wise beyond his years. He's a veteran right-hander. Then they've got lefty Austin Gomber going in the second game. These guys are fastball pitchers. Fastball first. They have low ERAs, and they're averaging each a strikeout per inning. So they look pretty good. I mean, and it's no surprise that the Cardinals lead the NL in opponent batting average at 206 with guys on the mound like that. I mean, you look at that ERA 3.65. Opponent's average, though, is 206. So I think what's going to happen is that the St. Louis guys who are strikeout pitchers, they're going to challenge the Tigers. And I think in a way that kind of bodes well for the Tigers in a strange sense. So I guess that's the way I would characterize the pitching matchup. You got 2 guys that are going to challenge their power pitchers. They each are averaging a strikeout per inning. You've got Skubal, who's kind of right there with them. He can average a strikeout per inning. He strikes out a lot of guys. And then Zim is kind of the X factor.
Okay.
All right. Do you think this means trouble for the Tigers?
Well, as you know, and maybe because JP was here and he ended up going to Harvard. I am going to adopt the persona of Candide, my favorite literary character from Voltaire's classic novel Candide. I'm optimistic. The sun is always shining on my beloved Bengals, on the Motor City Kitties, on the former beasts from the East. I see a lot of positivity raining on the Tigers today. And I'm going to tell you something. I know that these St. Louis pitchers, Gomber and Flaherty are going to challenge them, but so be it. They want to put the ball in play or they want to strike you out. When they put the ball in play, the Tigers, they are especially against lefties. But they're hitting 315 as a team when they put the ball in play. So if the Cards want the Tigers to swing away, be my guest. Swing away, Tigers. And, something else. Against left-handed pitchers, the Tigers lead the American League in batting average. They're batting against lefties at 308. So I'm looking forward to the Tigers hitters, especially after what happened yesterday, to be aggressive. I think the St. Louis starters are going to challenge them. I think they're going to put the ball in play. When they put the ball in play as a team, they're hitting 315. And against the young lefty in the second game, against left-handed hitters, they lead the American League, at 308. So I think that kind of bodes well for the Tigers. But they're going to have to hit and they're going to have to pitch. They've got to rebound. I think what happened to them yesterday, I think that'll be a nice way to rebound is for those guys to, flush it out, forget about yesterday's game, go in there and, you have 2 short games, these 7-inning games. They can get the pitching from Yzerman and Skubal, which I think, especially Skubal, I think they're going to get. And then they put the ball in play, which they're really good at doing. I think it bodes pretty well for the Tigers. I think, as JP said earlier, I think they have an opportunity to take one, if not both of these games. But the Cardinals, as far as, they're a good team and their pitching staff is pretty good. But the Tigers hitters, as I think, have hit a groove.
So, Carly, we know that the Tigers, well, at least the numbers say that the Tigers hit well against lefties. Who are you expecting to lead the charge as we kick off today's doubleheader?
Okay, today I am going to choose, drumroll please, Willie Castro. He's the guy that we want to swing away. He went 2 for 3 yesterday, has hits in 13 of his last 14 games. That sounds really good to me. And he's batting he's batting .431 with 10 RBI. He's been a huge boost to this lineup with 9 multi-hit games this year. Okay, so this midseason call-up guy has also stepped in, though, admirably at short because we have Nico Goodrum out. So he's someone that I'm really keeping my eye on, as we know. Great stats. He's really been stepping up to the plate, pun intended. So I'm really keeping my eye on him for this doubleheader today.
So Willie Castro, is there anybody else that you find exciting or that you're keeping your eye on today?
Well, I'm not sure if this is just because he's new, but I'm excited to see Daz Cameron play again today. And obviously yesterday wasn't exactly a game that he wanted to come up for, but he hit 11 of his 13 home runs last season and swiped 16 bases against right-handed pitching in AAA last year. So he could have a really good impact against the Cards today for the Tigers.
I agree, Carly. Yesterday, I was listening to the game on 97.1 with Dan Dickerson and Jim Price, and they were talking about Daz Cameron in his first at bat. I think he swung at the first pitch and grounded out. Mm-hmm. And they were saying that you always remember your first at bat in the major leagues. So I'm really hoping that he comes out and he's like, I can't let that be the memory I have. And he really remembers.
No, we're getting rid of yesterday's game. We're getting rid of it. That doesn't count. It doesn't even count for him. So today his at bat, we're going to count that as his first at bat. Hopefully he gets a homer.
I like that. Art, last question. Who's the X Factor today?
Here we go. Art Factor.
Well, it might be Nick Ramirez, who they called up, the lefty, who's actually pitched for the Tigers last year, along with Jordan Zimmerman. Tigers made a couple of roster moves yesterday, but really, truly, because St. Louis is throwing a righty-lefty combination, I would be crazy not to go with a switch hitter. And there's 2 switch hitters that I'm absolutely enthralled with on the Tigers right now. Of course, Victor Reyes and the Candyman, Jeimer Candelario. So I look at, Reyes is just, I just think he's a great player. I think a Rule 5 guy. He's really a find. He makes contact. He's good with 2 strikes. He seems to have solidified the leadoff spot. I think that, obviously a switch hitter. I think Victor Reyes is an X factor, but I'm really going to go with the Candyman as my true X factor today. And I'll tell you why. I've been to Busch Stadium. I was there for the 2006 World Series. It is a dinky park. It's small. It's only 400 feet in straightaway center field. That spells Candyman home run without question. I think the Candyman, you look, there's the old St. Louis Arch over there. I think that the Candyman's going to get up. He's going to see the arch. He's going to see how short that is. 400 feet straightaway center. Comerica Park, a lot of long fly balls in Comerica Park and Center are home runs at Busch Stadium. That bodes well for both of these switch hitters. But I think the Candyman's going to get up there and he's going to say, okay, where's this home run going to go? I think he's going to judge it. He's going to use the gateway arch in center, and he's going to say, okay, right in the middle of the arch. Don't be surprised if he launches a ball in that trajectory today, the Candyman, and it just goes out of that stadium, that dinky stadium, Busch Stadium, and lands right between the arch. Yeah, it is. I'll tell you something. When I went there in 2006, and I knew the Tigers and Cardinals have had a long history together. The throwing the vegetables at the guy at when they played in Detroit during a World Series game, they had to get the guy out. Tiger fans were enraged about a call. Dizzy Dean, and he won 30 games, and then Denny McClain was the next guy to do it. So in '68, Dizzy Dean was always together with Denny McClain, and they played in the World Series. Tigers came back in '68, so there was like a real history between these teams. And I was really looking forward to going to St. Louis, and it was really funny because I had been there with the Red Wings before to St. Louis, and they were always the St. Louis. The Blues fans were like, "Oh wow, Detroit's so good. The Red Wings, you're going to kick our butts." So most of the time it was for playoff series. Hopefully we can stay there with you. But when you talk baseball in St. Louis, they believe they're God's gifts to baseball. The Cardinals are everything there. I mean, they're a baseball city, and I try to tell, hey, Detroit's a baseball city too. Don't kid yourself. And it's like, oh yeah, but we're the Cardinals. So I was really looking forward to going. I was not impressed with Busch Stadium. I just was not impressed with it. I don't know what I thought I was going to walk into, like a hollowed hall, like Yankee Stadium or something. But Busch Stadium, it's kind of like, And I think that the Tigers, even though there's a history between them, I guess what I'm saying is Tigers aren't going to be intimidated to be down there. They're going to see that stadium. I know they play all over the league and they see stadiums everywhere, but they're going to see that short porch. Remember, if we hear one thing from Tiger hitters, and maybe the most frustrating aspect about playing in Comerica Park, you can hit gaps, a lot of triples and stuff, is that when they tag a ball in straightaway center, unless you really, really tag it, it's a long out. That doesn't happen in Busch Stadium. That's why I think both Reyes hits for power, the Candyman hits for power. I think that in their switch hitters, they got a righty and lefty going today. I think they're the X factors. I think both of them are going to hit home runs, but I think the Candyman might hit 2 or 3. I think he's feeling that good about himself.
You heard it here first.
The X factor is actually Busch Stadium.
Yeah, what? In a way, I guess now that you say it, dinky Busch Stadium is the X factor. 400 feet. Yeah. Who designed that thing? This is Major League Baseball. This isn't Little League.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, it looks like, look at that. It looks great.
It looks good on television. When you walk into the place, it's not that impressive. Trust me. That's a nice shot. You think, oh my God, historic Busch Stadium. And it's not the original Busch Stadium. You think, oh wow, I'm walking into, baseball Valhalla or something, boom, boom, boom. And you walk in there and you go, this is it? This is Busch Stadium?
Ugh. Well, I'm sure Cards fans love it.
Yeah, right. If we had any,
I like St. Louis.
If we had any
fans,
they're gone.
Pardon me?
For us.
What?
If we had any viewers from St. Louis, they're gone.
Oh no, they're not gone. They're enraged right now. I can't wait for Let's Socialize, man. I'm gonna get. I'm getting this guy. I'm getting this guy.
All right. Well,
Yeah, you
I have
you and your World Series jacket. Yeah, you think you know what you're talking about.
You didn't expect this. I didn't expect it either, but we've got a little bit of breaking news for you. Alan Trammell will be on the field today as the first base coach for the Tigers in place of Ramon Santiago, who is taking his U.S. citizenship test today.
Best of luck to Ramon Santiago.
Yeah, so congratulations. And of course, who better to fill in than Alan Trammell? So that's an exciting day.
Well, that'll be good.
Love
you know,
it.
Ramon Santiago, what doesn't this guy do? You know, that U.S. citizenship test, I don't know if we could pass it. You know, I mean, that thing is pretty difficult. And we're U.S. citizens because we were born in this country. Although I really want to see your papers, Danielle. I want to see your birth certificate. But in all truthfulness, though, I mean, you know, he comes up with the shifts. You know, he's constantly looking at the batting order. He's trying to, you know, I mean, and now you throw on top of that everything he does for the Tigers, you know, taking the U.S. citizenship test. But Ramon Santiago, the guy is my hero. Good luck. I know he's going to be an American citizen soon, and that's good.
America.
That's great.
Yeah, well, you two, yeah, really, you USA guys, I can hear both of you can really see it in your voices. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he's good.
You've had so much coffee. I haven't finished mine yet, so I'm sorry I'm not at your level right now.
Yeah, we gotta get on that level. You go take a break, drink some more coffee, I guess. That does it for Bet You Didn't Know. Bet You Didn't Know is presented by PointsBet Sportsbook. The PointsBet Sportsbook has the Tigers as the underdog by 1.5 runs with the Cardinals today. PointsBet is an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers. Download the app and follow PointsBet USA on social media for more information. Guys, those of you watching right now that are waiting patiently for the Steve Yzerman Q&A, it is coming up. But Carly has some really great social media stuff for us to lead us into it.
Absolutely, guys. Sorry, I'm not Steve Eiserman, but I'm going to have to do for now. First up, we celebrated Roberto Clemente yesterday across the MLB, and we found this picture from the game last night that the Tigers tweeted with Joe Jimenez and Claudio from the Brewers wearing number 21 to honor Roberto Clemente. An amazing guy, an amazing baseball player that will be missed forever and honored throughout the MLB. Okay, now moving on. On the Red Wings side, we got Moritz Seider on his Instagram. He posted a picture of himself hopping out onto the ice saying, "Is hockey back soon?" Just asking for a friend. And then look, we see Taro Hirose. Miss watching you play. I'm your biggest fan. You'll love to see it. Hopefully we can see those guys with a wing wheel sweater on next season. And then last but not least, we wanted to show you guys a little bit of fun that the Detroit Tigers had on Twitter after a not so fun game. We saw the Marlins play against the Braves yesterday, and they lost 29-9. So we thought it was pretty funny that the Marlins tweeted that and the Tigers tweeted. We understand. Both very bad games last night. But like we've been saying, this whole show, we're flushing it out. We're leaving it behind us, and we're moving on to the doubleheader today. But it's always nice to have a little bit of fun with it.
I'm sure the Marlins fans are doing the same thing, so it's okay. We're all on the same boat. We're all on the same boat right now. Thank you, Carly, for joining us. Carly will be all over social media accounts for the rest of the show. Ask your questions, comments, whatever you want to say. # Word on Woodward. Carly will find it. So, Carly, we'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Sounds good. See you soon.
Guys, we've still got a lot coming up. We're still going to hear from Tarek Skubal and, of course, Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic for today's headliner. But right now, we're going to get into Downtown Hockeytown, presented by our friends at Labatt Blue Light. And as you all have been waiting for, we see your comments. Don't worry. We know you're all excited to hear from Red Wings General Manager Steve Yzerman. We have a little Q&A with him. So you guys, thank you for your patience. Check it out.
The latest start will, I think, affect every team, more so the teams that weren't in the playoffs or played very few playoff games. And the fact we've been out since March, a little bit of unpredictability as to what to expect from our team. There will be changes in our lineup. Are some of our younger players ready? Ultimately, we don't really know because we won't have a normal preseason. We won't have had an opportunity to really assess them. So decisions will be made over a short period of time. So I think it makes it a little bit more difficult as to know what to expect from our team starting off. Yeah, ideally we'd, us along with the other non-playoff teams would love and prefer to start a little bit early, get more time in together. So we're optimistic that we'll be able to work something out with the National Hockey League and the Players Association as well. Well, getting back to work, obviously, and playing hockey, our season ended abruptly. The NHL season ended abruptly. Had a chance to watch the playoffs on television. I've really enjoyed watching the hockey. The level of play has been outstanding. So it just makes you yearn for wanting to get back to playing. And you know what? For myself, it's my second year as general manager. We want to take a step forward, and I'm anxious to continue with our rebuilding of our team and get back to playing. If we just look at our kids that played in Grand Rapids last year, who theoretically are closest to playing in what I consider the best league outside the NHL, and we had Gustav Lidstrom come up and play some games for us and do quite well last year. Obviously, Moritz Seider, who again is 19 years of age, is turning 20, played his first year of pro hockey, and we're pleased with the season that he had. Giovanni Smith, who saw time last year, Michael Rasmussen, who had a lot of injuries and missed a lot of time last year, and Dennis Chalowski was down there. We haven't seen them since March, so curious to see, once we get into playing where they're at. But all these guys aren't far off. Joe Velano, as a junior age player, did really well and finished strong. And unfortunately, with the season ending prior to them, getting into play any playoff action, which we're really looking forward to seeing, they were all really excelling as the year went on. So I mentioned those names just because they're the closest. They are in Grand Rapids playing in the American League. Potentially some of those, say, one or two or more could push for a spot on our team. But again, our decision will come down to, for these younger guys, if they're playing in Detroit, we want them playing regular. And if they're not going to play regular, I prefer them playing, whether it's the American League or back in junior for that matter, or in their European leagues, wherever they're at. So when they're ready to play a regular shift and contribute in the NHL, that's when we'll bring them in. Well, there's a lot of factors that go into the AHL returning to play next season. Obviously, we as an entire league, the NHL, it's our main develop. It is our main source. All of our call-ups, our players close to playing are in Grand Rapids playing for us. So we're hopeful that we're in a position to restart, and then we can make it work. So here we are in early September, working through, just like the NHL is working through, every league for that matter is working through all the complications that go with trying to restart in this pandemic. So we're hopeful we can get it done, but there's a lot of work to be done, and some of the things are really out of our hands, like a lot of industries.
There you have it, everybody. Red Wings general manager Steve Yzerman. Now we're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to bring back Art Regner, and we are now joined by senior content producer Dana Wakiji. You guys, it's always great to hear from Steve Yzerman. Dana, the first question I want to ask you about what we just heard from our general manager is about the fact that he's eager to get on the ice, eager to play. And of course, I'm sure along with the other general managers that are not playing in the playoffs or didn't make the 24 team return to play plan, want to get on the ice with their teams. They haven't skated in a really long time. What are your predictions about what will happen for those teams? Will they get to skate earlier than the rest?
I think you have to let them skate early, because otherwise it's just not fair. None of these guys have played since, middle, early March. So it's at least together. Now, I think probably that the guys who are over in Europe, like Mo Seider, Gustav Lindstrom, those guys who are Philip Hronek, who are playing with other teams right now, they're European teams, they're going to have a little bit of an advantage when they come back because they'll be already up to speed, where it's going to take the rest of these guys a little time. Even though I know all of them are working out a lot and most of them are skating in some way or shape or form, but I still think those guys over in Europe who are playing in some actual game type situations will be a little bit better off at this point.
Definitely. And Steve had mentioned too, Art, I want you to answer this one, that some of the prospects, they won't have as much time to evaluate them like they do in a normal season, meaning prospects tournament, training camp, preseason, whatever that may be. They don't know exactly what the evaluation process will be. So how is that going to affect which prospects make the Red Wings roster?
Well, I'll tell you what. First of all, I know we neglected to say this, but Philip Larson is also on loan in Sweden to in the Swedish Hockey League too. You know, obviously the Red Wings need goaltender. He is their top goaltending prospect, so he is in Sweden. I know he had a really rough year, dealt with injuries, didn't have a great season in the AHL. He was sent down to the Toledo Walleye. Played a little bit better, but I think that's big. I think that's really huge that Larson's now in Sweden playing. Maybe he'll get his confidence back. What does this mean? And I think Dana kind of hit it right on the head, and obviously so did Steve. They need to get on the ice as soon as the league and the Players Association agree to whatever start date, the 7 teams that weren't in the playoffs. They need to get on the ice. You know, I would assume that as soon as they give Steve the okay, he's going to be laying the ice down at Belfour. You know what I mean? I mean, that's how eager he is to get the Red Wings out there. I think it's vitally important to get them all back here in Detroit and start playing and see what he has. You know, I know he's concentrated on the draft right now, but what will this do for their development? Dana's correct. Some of these guys are playing right now, which is really, really good. You know, it's the big Red Wings. You know, we just had the picture, you know, of Kenny Daniels and Mickey and you know, Mantha and Dylan at the golf course. You know, having a good time. But you could just see that they're just eager to play. I mean, they're just eager to just play and start playing and start getting on the ice. The Red Wings need to get on the ice. This is a topic that I'm obsessed with. Danielle, I know you've heard me talk about it. Dana hears me talk about it incessantly all the time. But you know, I think not only for the prospects is it important, the Red Wings need to get on the ice as soon as possible. I know they're going to, you know, if they, you know, after they got hosed in the draft lottery, and I'm not going to get into that again, but, you know, I think that they've got to do something for these teams that did not make the playoffs. Those are those 7 teams, which, you know, are kind of your, unfortunately, bottom feeders right now. I think you have to do something to give a competitive balance to. I mean, the hockey has been great. Steve is right. I really agree with all that. I love watching the playoffs. You know, all exciting games. You know, I tip my cap to the players. They really brought it. You know, living in a bubble, which can't be easy. But with all that said, it's time for the league to step up and allow teams like the Red Wings to get their guys back sooner and let them congregate, let them become a team, let them play, let them see ice, you know. Free the Red Wings. Free them. Let them go. Let them be that Red Wing. Let them soar. Let them soar. Let them soar at the Belfour Training Center. I mean, that's yeah, it's important. Can I stress that enough? It's very important. Steve knows it's important. You could tell in the way that he talked about it. He mentioned several players that I think have legitimate shots at making the team this year. You know, Joe Velano, maybe he needs a little more seasoning. Rasmussen, I expect to be on the team. Giovanni Smith, I expect to be on the team. I don't think Gus Lindstrom's going anywhere. You know, Seider, that'll be the key. That'll be the key. Seider's going to get every opportunity to make this team, and you know, I think Dana, but whether he's ready or not, because Steve, you know, in his Canadian way, you know, I would say that Mo Seider is 19 years old. Steve says he's 19, you know, age 19 or whatever, you know, so, but he's only 19, I guess is the point here. So and he's not going to rush him. He's not going to rush him. That's the thing that I got out of that. He's not rushing him. If they're ready to play, and they're going to have to play big minutes to stay here in Detroit, Seider has proven at last year's prospects tournament and in the AHL that he can log big minutes. The Red Wings weren't expecting him to play 26, 27, 28 minutes a game at the AHL level, not as a teenager, and he handled it flawlessly. So he'll get every opportunity, and whatever Steve decides is best. But I like what Mike Babcock used to say, and Dana, I know you heard him say this many, many times, is that I don't determine their ice time. I don't even determine where they play. That's up to the players. Well, there's a lot of jobs available on the Red Wings. There's a lot of competition. So I'm eager to see what happens and how it plays out.
Dana, let me ask you this about, because we're talking a lot about the prospects here, and Moritz Seider specifically, and he's playing in Germany, but we've got guys that are established NHL players like Dylan Larkin, Anthony Mantha, Tyler Bertuzzi, Robbie Fabry. How are they going to be impacted? And I don't want to say, are the prospects going to have an advantage, because I don't think that's the correct word for it, but they have had some game experience, some ice time. How is that going to affect our current team, I guess is what I'm saying, the established Red Wings players?
Well, it means that those guys, the Bertuzzis, Manthas, Larkins, they need to get up to speed fast. Now, obviously, that fits in Larkin's wheelhouse as a speedy player and who's a good skater right out of the gate. So those other guys, and Anthony Mantha is a very good skater as well. So hopefully they've all been skating, so that won't be an issue. But, I think because they're so competitive and the way that the last season ended, they are going to have that chip on their shoulder. They are going to want to come out and prove something this season because they know they have a lot to prove. And even though they're all pretty young, 25, 24, that age, they don't want these young guys coming in and trying to take their ice time. So they do still have things to prove. So I think that their competitive nature is what going to drive them to perform early on. They're still young enough that their legs won't be that much of an issue, I believe. And so I think that they'll get up to speed very quickly, and they, again, have something to prove. And they do have to show the way for these young prospects who are trying to make the team. So that's another factor. They have to be the way showers for those guys.
And a follow-up to that, Dana, you mentioned that the guys that we talk about, the young core of this team, they're still young. Getting their legs back won't be a huge issue for them. But what about a guy like Danny DeKeyser, for example? He missed a majority of the season last season, and now he's going to have a strange start to this season. What does he have to work on? And how important is it for someone like that to start skating?
It's important for him to be skating, there's no doubt, because he hasn't been on the ice in even longer than most of these guys. He only played 8 games last season, and we could see what happened when he wasn't in there. They need him badly. They need him to be the great player that he was before his back was injured. So, but at the same time, because he's right at that 30-year-old mark, he doesn't want to overdo it, not with coming off a back injury. I think he has to work his way into it, and he definitely won't be played like in back-to-back preseason games if that's what happens. He'll be eased into it a little bit more because of what he's coming off of, and sort of have to ramp up in this way as opposed to this way.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And like you said, we need a guy like Danny DeKeyser. Even in the 8 games that he did play last season, he made a huge impact, and you definitely felt his absence through the rest of the season. Unfortunately, you guys, that is all the time we have for Downtown Hockeytown today. So Dana, thank you so much for taking the time to join us again. It's always great to chat with you.
Thanks. It's fun to be with you guys.
And a big thank you to Labatt Blue Light for presenting Downtown Hockeytown. Labatt Blue Light, refreshing Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. All right, you guys, now we've heard from Steve Yzerman, talked about some hockey a little bit. We're going to get back into baseball. It is time for Brush Street Beat, presented by our friends at McLaren. You're looking right now live at St. Louis, where the Tigers will kick off their doubleheader with the Cardinals. First pitch will start at 2:15 for the first game. And of course, you can catch pregame on Fox Sports Detroit right after we're done here on the Word on Woodward. Before we get into talking a little bit more, as we mentioned yesterday during the pregame show, the special edition of the Word on Woodward, Carly did an interview with Tarek Skubal, who is starting the first game for the Tigers today. So let's check that out.
Thanks, Danielle. We're going to catch up with Tarek Skubal ahead of tonight's game.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. All right, you guys are coming off of a win. It must feel pretty good, huh?
Yeah. Hoping to do that again today.
Absolutely. All right. So let's take a step back and look at when you got called up and you made your MLB debut. I hear that you didn't tell your roommate Casey Mize that you got that call up. You wanted to wait until he heard that he got called up too. What has it been like having someone with you every step of the way?
It's been huge. That comfort factor. You're trying to get comfortable, new team that I'm not super familiar with. I played a little bit of spring training with them, but that got shut down early. So to have that guy that you're comfortable with and you trust to every step of the way, it's been huge.
I'm sure it makes it that much more fun too. And obviously this is a weird season, but what's it been like being up in the big leagues?
It's been fun. It's been fun just trying to enjoy every day. About every day I look up and it's like, third, fourth inning, whatever inning it is. And I'm like, dang, this is MLB. It's still feels very, new. But yeah, it's been really fun.
Awesome. So let's ask you some fun questions, if you will. Last week, Artie said that each player gets their time in the clubhouse to play their own music. Have you gotten your time yet? And if you do, or when you did, what are you playing?
No, I haven't. I haven't got my own, but I've got my own playlist that I put in, my headphones, or if I'm working out and no one's in there or something like that, I'll throw something on. But yeah, I haven't got my time to shine though yet.
All right, well, it'll come, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And the clubhouse seems like a really good mix of veteran players and new guys that you are getting your time with in the big leagues. Has anyone given you some great piece of advice, and who is that? And if they did, what was it?
Yeah, I would probably go with, Matt Boyd. He's throwing tonight. He's been huge. Just, first day, he's like, congrats, you're a big leaguer. You deserve it. You belong here. All those things that, you are trying to feel like you're trying to learn or, get that same confidence for yourself to know that you belong. So that's huge to hear from a guy like that, the first day you're there.
Yeah, I have a feeling Matt Boyd is the kind of guy that you listen to and gives great advice. He's a very well-spoken man. But your last two starts, let's talk about that. They've been a lot better than your first two. Have you made any changes, or where has that improvement come from?
I think a little bit more confidence in myself and, aggression with how I pitch. But, I'm just trying to get my feet underneath me. And get everything back, get a feel for everything again and all my pitches, and then, continue to go forward and be consistent.
So we heard that you would switch the grip on your changeup before your last start. Is that something you felt you needed to do by watching film or looking at data? What made you make that change?
Yeah, so I got my, little report that you get after every outing, and the average exit velocity on my changeup is 98 or 99, which is not good at all. It means they're hammering that pitch, and I just felt like I wasn't generating the swings that I wanted to or the contact that I wanted to. I felt like there was a lot of long fly balls instead of ground balls or infield pop-ups. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with the changeup, or swing and miss. I feel like I didn't get any swing and misses on it, maybe one. So yeah, I was like, hey, this pitch has got. It's carrying too much into the zone, and it's not sinking or fading enough. It's just basically a slow fastball. So I was just trying to do something and get rid of that pitch because, at that point, there's no point in throwing it anymore. So I'd rather just flip the grip and, start fresh than keep trying to work on something that's not working.
Interesting. I guess change makes improvement. But your next start, it's tomorrow night against the St. Louis Cardinals. It's another start you have in a doubleheader. Do you change your approach in a doubleheader at all?
No, just same thing. Take the ball and control what I can control. I think if you get caught up in that type of stuff, there are only 7 innings, and then there's 2 of them. You start thinking about things that you shouldn't be thinking about when you're on the mound. So I just try to keep the same approach and, continue to go out there and compete.
Very cool. Okay, so I read up on you the past week and came across a couple articles, kind of contradicting articles. One had pitching coach Rick Anderson telling you to have fun out there, and one had Austin Romine telling you to be more aggressive. Are these different messages, or do you have fun when you are being more aggressive on the mound?
Yeah, when I'm out there, I don't know if fun is the right word. I don't know if I'm trying to have fun, because I like to have fun, in the dugout or in the clubhouse or, with guys or something like that. off the field more so, in the weight room or something like that, have fun there. And then when I'm out there, I do want to be aggressive and try not to think that much. I know when I start thinking a lot, I get into a lot of trouble. That's just personal experience. So I let the catcher do the thinking, let Romy do the thinking, or Griner do the thinking, and let me just go out there and be aggressive.
Love it. Sometimes less is more. All right.
No,
So before this interview, I talked to Dan Dickerson, and he was telling me that you have a few brothers, and that you had said before that it makes it a little more competitive having those brothers. Do you attribute your competitiveness to your brothers and always trying to get a leg up?
Yeah, definitely. I've told this story before, but my older brother wouldn't let me beat him at basketball until I really could, and he would give me like a 10-point lead, and we played to 11. He'd start 10-0. Winner takes the ball, so if you score, you get the ball back. It's not like traditional basketball. And I would lose 11-10 every time. And it would just like really piss me off and like cause a lot of problems, in the house, just because I was so angry that I was losing all the time. And I think that is just, where it is competitive. Like my little brother, I think I've let him beat me. I didn't let him beat me. He might have beat me one time. He got lucky.
I hope he's
I'll give it to
watching
me
this.
maybe one time. He got lucky, but I think I've beaten him like 25, 30 times. I still, if I were to play basketball today, I would not let him beat me until he can't beat me, or, I'm 65 or something and happens to be 60 and he can beat me then, just because my body is not there anymore. But I still won't let him beat me at basketball. I think that's just kind of the competitiveness that we always had in the house. I mean, we were always playing indoor hoops or wiffle ball, and there was always, at the end of it, it would start out as a fun game, and by the end, when the game's winding down, it was a lot of pushing and shoving and fighting. So we'd have to get the ball taken away or something like that. Our parents would have to take it away and say, you guys are done. But it was always fun though.
Sibling rivalry at its finest. I understand. I have two brothers myself. All right.
Yeah.
Tarek, I can't thank you enough for catching up with us. Best of luck tomorrow. We're all rooting for you, and go Tigers.
Yeah, go Tigers. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love hearing the story of Tarek with his brothers. He will be taking the mound tonight, and you can definitely tell he's got that competitive edge. And I should say today, first pitch is 2:10 right there in St. Louis for the first game of the doubleheader. Art, in his last outing, Tarek Skubal pitched 6 innings, giving up just 2 hits and 1 run. The biggest thing that I've noticed about Tarek Skubal is that every time he does get the start, it seems like he's improving a little bit. Even if it's just a little, something has been improving, and he looks better and better every time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's confidence. I know when we had him on, I mean, his, innings pitch and strikeout ratio is amazing. He has like 200, and I'm going off the top of my head, like 213 strikeouts and 160 innings pitched. I mean, he's challenges people. He's got a great fastball. He's a lefty. I know that Jim Price has said that he has the best stuff from a lefty he's ever seen in a Tigers uniform. And trust me, the guy that used to wear that number 29, another great lefty for the Tigers, Mickey Lolich, that's high praise coming from Jim Price. So, Tarek Skubal, I think, he recovered from COVID-19. He had Tommy John surgery. He was drafted in the 9th round. He played, at Seattle University. So, he's kind of experienced a few things along the way. I think he was all, amped up as anybody would be to make their major league debut. And then, he just kind of settled it down. He figured it out. He has confidence in his arm. He has confidence in that fastball. He just has confidence, as he told Carly. I thought she did a really good job with on that interview, and I agree with you. Brotherly competition. So he's. He's tasted defeat, at the hands of his own family, and that's never good when your brother beats you at something and consistently beats you at something. So I think he has the right mindset, as opposed to Casey Mize, who not had it easy. He's worked for everything too, but I think Casey, is still kind of working it through because of his arsenal of pitches, whereas Skubal knows, hey, I'm just going to rear back. And as we said when we talked to him, throw 400 miles an hour. I mean, and he's capable of doing that. Maybe not 400 miles an hour. So that's what I see. I see a confident pitcher who believes in his stuff. He has great stuff, and he has a definitive out pitch that he throws with confidence. And you gotta like that. You gotta like his makeup. I really like Tarek Skubal. I really like his approach.
Looking forward to seeing him on the mound again today, Art, as the Tigers prepare for their doubleheader against St. Louis. First pitch is scheduled for 2:15. They are in St. Louis right after the Word on Woodward ends. You guys can head over to Fox Sports Detroit for the pregame show, which will be starting at 1 p.m. That does it for Brush Street Beat today. A big thank you to our friends at McLaren Healthcare for presenting Brush Street Beat this week and every week right here on the Word on Woodward. You guys, I have to remind you of the Miller Lite contest that we have going on right now. The Detroit Tigers and Miller Lite are teaming up to give our fans the chance to win autographed Detroit Tigers gear and some great Miller Lite gear as well. Enter online to win one of 72 Miller Lite home run kits from now until October 12th. So you got to get on that. From now until October 12th, you can win some great Tigers gear and some great Miller Lite gear right now, you guys. We're going to get into our headliner where Carly Johnston caught up with Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic earlier today.
That's right. It's time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. And today I'm pleased to be joined by Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic. Cody, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Okay, so we don't really need to mention the game against the Brewers, but we did see a rare position player pitching with Travis Demare on the mound. As someone who covers the team day in and day out, do you like the novelty of seeing this, or does it make you cringe?
Well, some of both, right? When you're watching a 19-0 game, it's easy to tune out in the 6th or the 7th or the 8th. And then come the 9th, it's like, hey, a position player's on the mound. At least this is interesting to see how cringeworthy it's going to be, see how bad it's going to be. Travis Demare, did the best he could. He was throwing 81, which I think is better than some position players I've seen. He got out of the inning. I think he only allowed 1 homer. So, could have been worse. It was cringeworthy, but it also piqued my interest. I watched the 9th inning more closely than I did the 8th, so we'll put it that way.
Hey, pros and cons. I get it. Okay, so something else that was good. Before the game, 2 players of Puerto Rican descent. We saw Joe Jimenez and Alex Claudio of the Brewers. They met before the game wearing number 21 in honor of Roberto Clemente Day. When you think back on Roberto Clemente's legacy, what things stand out to you?
I mean, Roberto Clemente is probably the ultimate statesman for the game of baseball and obviously just a tremendous humanitarian. Beyond that, that's why he's honored with this day. That's why the Roberto Clemente Award, which is essentially a public service award, is named after him. I mean, I think when you think of humanitarian works, efforts, in baseball, you think of Roberto Clemente, all the things he did for his home people in Puerto Rico, for things he did, for people in a more quiet nature, just day to day. I mean, I reported a story on what aging athletes and their families do with all of their memorabilia, and the Clemente family sold most of Clemente's awards and certain other items from his career a couple of years ago in an auction, which is not uncommon. But I talked to the director of that auction. He said that, Vera Clemente, his wife, and Roberto had talked about this even when Roberto was living, that they knew that his items would be of some value and they wanted to find a way to make sure those went to charitable efforts. So when the family finally decided to sell, I think the vast majority of those proceeds went to his foundation. And I just thought it was interesting to learn that even Roberto was alive and playing. He was kind of cognizant and planning ahead. That's just a very small example of the type of things that Roberto Clemente means to baseball.
I know he meant a lot to the game of baseball and a lot to the community. So let's talk, though, about some positives with the Tigers this year.
Sure.
Victor Reyes is having a breakout year. So what has been different about him specifically this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just experience. I think the Tigers kind of made a bet on Reyes a couple of years ago when they took him in the Rule 5 draft, when they more or less stashed him for the majority of the 2018 season, and he didn't play a lot, and it was tough, and it was almost a risk. Is he still going to be able to develop? Obviously, we saw him play pretty well for stretches last year, and there were questions. Can he sustain it, right? A guy who doesn't walk a lot, who doesn't hit for a ton of power. He had a high batting average in balls in play, so is this guy going to be able to really come out and hit 300 again? Well, yeah, he's doing that. He's actually playing even better. This is a guy who, some of the metrics aren't favorable, but then you look, his on-base percentage entering today was over 340. He was hitting over 300 again. He's hitting a ton of line drives. Now he's playing center field, and he's playing very well. So it's kind of a testament to something the Tigers organization saw in him and the player development staff and the major league staff. put in work to kind of help this guy realize his potential. And it really, maybe it's still a little early, but it seems like he is going to be able to stick, that at least his hitting ability is for real. So it's kind of cool to see a success story like that, to see some hard work pay off, and really kind of a win for the whole organization, because it was kind of a gamble, a bet to take a guy like that. And right now it's really paying off.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've also seen a big year from Jeimer Candelario, Willie Castro, and we're getting a good look at other young players like Isaac Paredes and now Daz Cameron. Is this the beginning, do you think, of a core we'll see in Detroit for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really know what the core of this team will look like in 5 years or so, but these players are all here for a reason. The Tigers hope that the majority of them can be future cornerstones, or at least major pieces in this rebuild. I mean, you look at Casey Mize, Tarek Skubal. I think we all know that those are the guys that this franchise has kind of chose to build around. The idea of Isaac Paredes, sticking around for a long time to come is certainly an ideal scenario. And then to see a guy like Jeimer Candelario, who his future was kind of in jeopardy at one point. It was like, does he really have a future in this organization? Suddenly he's the hottest hitter on the team, and it's become a little more than a hot streak. He's 32, 33 games of sustained performance. So now he's written himself back into that future conversation. You bring up another guy like Daz Cameron. It's been fun to watch, right? I think this year's a lot about laying the groundwork for the future. Some of the oddities of the 60-game season have almost allowed those opportunities to come up, and it's cool to see the Tigers still be relatively competitive while still having this young energy, while being able to see that future come into focus a little more, right? That's really been the cool thing to watch about this season for sure.
I couldn't agree more. And let's dive more into two guys you talked about. Let's talk about Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal, some other guys that we're getting a good look at this season. Skubal will take the mound for the Tigers in Game 1 today. What are you looking for Skubal to do today against the Cards?
I mean, ideally he could follow up his start from last weekend, where he was phenomenal, where he didn't allow a hit until I think the 5th inning, where he was, you'd like to call it his arrival. Granted, baseball is a complicated game. Things don't always go as you plan. Even if he has a setback or doesn't pitch as well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a setback. But we really got a glimpse of Tarek Skubal's ability in his last outing. You saw him using that whole arsenal. He's really made this changeup into an effective pitch, and he changed the grip on that at Matthew Boyd's suggestion before his last outing. It really paid off. I still think there's more to come from his curveball once he gets the hang of that a little bit. This is the Tarek Skubal we saw in spring training, that we had heard about for a long time. We finally saw that come to fruition, and in an ideal world, we'll see him continue to do that for a long time. And obviously his next chance to do it is today against the Cardinals.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to watching it. Okay, and let's talk a little bit about this injury bug that's been biting the Tigers a bit this season. If there's another injury, who should we look to be the next player to be called up?
Yeah, it's tough to know. I think it depends on the position. It's kind of scary when Jonathan Scope got hit on the wrist the other night, and it was scary at first. It was like, this going to be broken? Is this another Jacoby Jones situation? Luckily, at least for now, seems to just be a bruise. He was in the lineup. It seems like he's going to be good. But when you look at this infield depth and the injuries they have, the Tigers are kind of about out of guys on the 40-man roster, especially in the infield. So who would they bring up next? That's a really good question. Zach Short, who they just traded from the Cubs, is on the 40-man roster, but he wasn't, he hadn't really been playing until just a couple of weeks ago. So could he earn a shot this quickly? Could they have to, find some outside help, bring back a guy like Brandon Dixon, in the outfield? We have Derek Hill up here now. We have Daz Cameron up here. Those things are good, but it also speaks to depth is getting pretty thin. Another injury, especially if it's a position player, would not be good, and I think the Tigers would really have to make some hard decisions about how to fill that spot. So I don't have a great answer to your question, and honestly, it's kind of a worst-case scenario after losing Jacoby Jones, after losing CJ Cron, after losing a few other pitchers. I think the Tigers really, really can't afford another injury like that, especially as this season gets into crunch time.
Well, fingers crossed we don't run into that issue. But
Yeah.
looking beyond Thursday, the playoff push will come down to matchups against AL Central teams. What do you think the Tigers need to do to reach the playoffs?
Yeah, you got to continue to hit, right? I think guys like Candelario, guys like Reyes that we've talked about, you can't have them level off. They've been kind of carrying this lineup, and that's helped make them competitive. I think you want to continue to get better outings from your starting pitchers. We've seen it happen a little bit with Spencer Turnbull, with Tarek Skubal, Matthew Boyd until this game against the Brewers was looking good, but you need him to finish strong. I think the bullpen is really going to be the biggest key. The bullpen's kind of carried a heavy load all year. You've had guys, Brian Garcia, Gregory Soto, Jose Cisnero pitch really well. It's been a pleasant surprise. But again, this bullpen continues to be taxed. Guys like Joe Jimenez have struggled. Buck Farmer's struggled recently. Even Soto and Cisnero, haven't been great in their most recent outings. So can they hold up down the stretch? Can they provide key relief innings? Or could this bullpen collapse? I think that might be the biggest question in determining whether the Tigers can hang on in this race. You need a guy to step up in the bullpen. You need these other guys who have been pitching well to continue to pitch well, maybe even against the odds a little bit.
I couldn't agree more. It seems that pitching is the storyline of this season. Okay, so Cody, we're going to put you on the spot here and ask you who you think the Tigers MVP has been at this point in the season.
Oh, a tough question. I would say Reyes, Candelario, and Scope are all right there in that conversation. I think Jonathan Scope is their wins above replacement leader right now. And he's obviously a veteran presence who's made a big difference in more intangible ways, just bringing some experience to the club. He's their home run leader. So I'd probably go with Jonathan Scope, although Candelario or Victor Reyes might have a shot to unseat him here in the past couple of weeks if they keep hitting like they have been.
Ooh, I like it. It's almost a tie, if you will. All right.
Yeah.
Well, before I let you go, The Athletic celebrated a milestone, surpassing 1 million subscribers yesterday. Is there a message to your readers you'd like to send with that milestone?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up. I mean, I think just definitely thanks for all those who have read and subscribed and stayed with us, especially through this pandemic, through some hard times, maybe hard financial times. We wouldn't have made it this far as a company, obviously, without the readers. It's been such a blessing and so cool to see it grow now to 1 million subscribers. And I think the next goal is 2 million. So there's a quick plug. There is a special limited time you can sign up for. I think it's like $1 a month right now. We're trying to get more people on board. So if you don't already subscribe, I hope you'll come check it out.
Love it. Shameless plug.
There we go.
Awesome. Thank you, Cody, so much for joining us today on The Headliner. Brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light beer with great taste and only 96 calories, available for delivery. Back to you, Daniela.
Thank you, Carly and Cody. Congratulations to Cody and The Athletic, too. That's awesome. I am one of those 1 million subscribers. Very cool to see The Athletic growing. Congratulations. And another congratulations is in order, as we talked about in Brush Street Beat. Ramon Santiago was taking his his U.S. citizenship test this morning, and we just got word that he did pass the test. According to Jason Beck on Twitter, Guardy confirmed that Ramon Santiago passed the test this morning, so he's officially a U.S. citizen. Big congratulations to him. Let's get into Let's Socialize, presented by AAA, and of course, bring in Carly for that one as well. You guys, how cool is that? Ramon Santiago, officially a U.S. citizen. I'm sure he worked really hard because, as Art said earlier, we actually talked about that in Bet You Didn't Know, not Brush Street Beat. But either way, Ramon Santiago probably had to work really hard to pass that. So a huge congratulations to him. That's awesome.
Yes.
Golf clap.
Awesome. Congratulations, Ramon Santiago. So happy to have you.
We
Carly,
should try taking that test.
I don't know if I want to, Art.
How many Supreme Court justices are there?
Yeah, I'm not answering any questions right now just because it's not.
I feel like I know this answer, but I'm so not confident that I don't want to answer it.
Oh, come on, Carly.
I'm not telling you whether I do or don't know the answer. I'm not answering.
Go ahead. Just throw out a number, Carly.
No, because what if it's really wrong? Give us a range. All right, give us a range.
Art, no, I don't appreciate this.
1
Art is
through
trying
10.
to on air.
It's
No,
8,
Art.
right?
Come on. You're cut
1
off.
through 10. 1
You're
through
cut
10.
off.
8, right?
Ooh.
9.
Remember, there you go. Gordie Howe's number.
It was 8 or 9. I knew it was 8 or 9.
Right. Well, you don't want
All right.
ties. You know what I mean? So you're
I
always
know.
going to have an uneven number.
Oh, duh. Well, with that history lesson, I'm going to get into Let's Socialize. All right. I guess it wouldn't even be history. I don't even know what you would call it. Anyway, question number 1. Art, it's for you, and I know you're going to have fun with this one. What were your takeaways from Eiserman's interview?
Well, first of all, he wants the Red Wings to get on the ice. There's no question about it. He certainly and you know he's part of that committee too for the AHL. I'm sure he's going to do everything in his power to try to ensure that the AHL has a season of some sort, because the young prospects who don't make the teams, the guys that he's mentioned, like him, I think Rasmussen, as I said, is on the team. I think Giovanni Smith's going to make the team. Velano has a shot. Seider has a shot. I don't think Gus Lindstrom's going to be down in Grand Rapids. My point being is that I think that he really just wants hockey to start, which my biggest takeaway. He wants to be able to put ice in at the Belfort Training Center, have the Red Wings congregate there. He wants training camp for the 7 teams that didn't make it to start earlier, and it should. I think that is really fair. Because right now those 7 teams have been off the ice for far too long, and I think that jobs are open, and I believe that if guys are ready, if they're going to log minutes here in Detroit on the red and white, then wearing the red and white, then they'll be on the team. If not, as he said, he'd rather see them play either in the AHL or their junior team or college or back in Europe, whatever the individual scenario may be. So I think that's the thing that I took. He's really eager to get back. I think he thinks that I think he's anxious to see what some of the guys down in Grand Rapids, if they're going to be able to take the next step and make the team. I do think that in this long layoff, a guy like Michael Rasmussen, who had some back issues last year, it would probably benefited him, even though he's young. But backs are dicey situations. So I expect the only good thing to come out of this pandemic, I would say, and really nothing good has come out of it, but with that said, is that a lot of these guys have had a chance to heal, whether they're young or old. Their body has recuperated. So I think when the Red Wings do hit the ice, I think they're going to be as healthy as these guys may have been in their entire pro careers. And I think they'll be eager, and the chemistry will start working. Again, the biggest takeaway: let us skate, and jobs are open, and it's going to be competitive, and let's see what happens.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I was talking to Danny DeKaiser yesterday, actually. He was doing great, and I asked him, how's your back feeling? Like, you ready to get back? He said, actually, like you were saying, Art, this pandemic has been a lot of bad, but the thing is I've had that extra time to rest and that extra time to train and gain my strength back. So that was good to hear. It's definitely a positive to take away. All right, moving on to Daniela's question. Which of Art's player nicknames is your favorite?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Oh man. So we've got the Torque Man, Unleash the Torque. That's definitely up there. The BT Express. There's Arthur too, but that one's not my favorite. I'm not going to lie to you, Art. I'm just going to be straight up honest with you on which ones I like and which ones, BT Express and the Torque Man are definitely my favorite. I'm blanking. Do you have any more?
Dill Daddy, but Dylan shot that one down real quick.
Yeah.
Dylan, no, we're done there.
Carly was there. We were doing a podcast over at the Lakeland Ice Arena, and I was talking to him, and I told him that our nickname, because he knows that I have nicknames for people and stuff. I don't know how we got on it, and I said Dill Daddy, and because Thomas Tatar called him Dill Daddy. when Tatar was traded, and I guess he was with Montreal at that point. I never really talked to him when he was with the Golden Knights. Tatar kept referring to Dylan as, I can't wait, because, Tatar was like, can't wait till after the game. I can go in the room and I can see Dill Daddy and, Mantha and those guys, because they're his buddies, he was Tatar was a Red Wing for like 6 or 7 years, whatever. And so he kept saying Dill Daddy. So I figured, okay. So I told Dylan, you could tell Carly was right. He shot it down. He did not like it. He did not want to be called Dill
looked at me and he was like, and I was like, yeah, Art, let's just
right.
not.
Well, then I guess there's a little more of a I guess when I mean, I'm not a young kid anymore. I think I am, but I'm not. So, just like, I'm really into Cardi B and WAP, as you guys know. I mean, I'm really into that. But with that said, I did not know that there's another connotation with daddy that I wasn't aware of. So when I called him Dill Daddy, Carly then informed me, and that's when I said, okay, I won't use that anymore.
Yeah.
Hey, we're on the show.
Don't look at it. I know. I got it.
No. Carly came to me and said, hey, Lake, I got to explain this to you. And then she did. And then I said, oh, my God. I was a little bit embarrassed,
That's okay.
Yeah, so
we forgive you for that one. So yeah, Dill Daddy, not your best. That one gets an F. I'd give Arthur Mize a C, but you get an A.
Well,
for both work and BT Express.
I like the BT Express because Big Tony, Anthony Mantha, his best thing is when we said, yeah, we're going to start calling you Tony Mantha, because he always goes by Anthony. He goes, that sounds Italian, Tony Mantha. I said, exactly. I go, it's like the Sopranos. I go, out on the ice. I go, you're a little bit of a mobster, That's why. But Tony, Anthony. Yeah, Anthony sounds like, you're eating wine and cheese and, you're like this hoity-toity kind of dude. Oh, hi, I'm Anthony Mantha. I go, no way. You're Big Tony. Tony Mantha, scourge on the ice, and then he just looked at it because he knew he wasn't going to win that battle. He said, yeah, whatever.
And happy.
Well, Art, you didn't make up this nickname, so I don't think I can use this as an answer, but the Candyman is definitely my favorite, but it's not an Art Rehmann nickname.
Yeah.
If you look at the beginning of his name, though, it spells candle.
Right?
So I'm wondering, although Candyman it's just so natural or something. It's kind of like, I think you can fit candle kind of in there. He's hot as a, I don't know, as a flame, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of one, but you're right. Candyman is just too good. The Candyman is just too good.
That's a good one.
Victor Reyes needs a nickname, though. Victor Reyes needs a nickname. No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Carl.
I want to know your favorite.
My favorite? Well, of course, according to you two, it's the captain. But I would say that, I'm selfish in a way. I like Arthur.
I knew you were going to say that was your name.
I should have known.
But I'm sure Casey doesn't even like that one. So, I guess at this point, I would probably have to go with the BT Express. I have to go with Big Tony. Because Mantha is. I mean, I don't think he likes it, but he puts up with it. So.
Better.
Yeah. So I think so that's why I always love saying it.
Are they ever a fan of this nickname that you give them? I don't think they ever love it. They're never going to.
No.
Even
but you need to come up with a nickname. You need to just call Alex Biega Bulldog because you always get his first name wrong for some reason. All right, moving on to question number 3. This is for both of you guys. We're going to start with Art and go to Daniela. Who are your Tigers MVPs for this point in the season?
Well, I would have to say, first and foremost, I have to say Victor Reyes and Willie Castro and Jamer Candelario. I mean, they're all three switch hitters. It's all tied. But I'm going to tell you. Today will be. Well, I said they're all really close, right? I can't
just
pick
went
out
down
of
the
those three.
whole entire
I can't pick out.
list
I
of
can't pick out of those three. I cannot pick. But I will say this. I will say that depending on how his start goes today, I think at the end of the day, the MVP is going to be Tarek Skubal.
Oh, okay. I like it. That's a good one. What about you, Daniela?
I'm definitely going Candyman. Like that was my first reaction. I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased because I love the nickname so much, but I think he's been super effective. And Art, I remember talking about this in the beginning of the season, just not knowing why Jamer Candelario wasn't coming into his own, why he wasn't progressing the way the Tigers expected him to. Well, I think he has, and I think his future is really bright. But I mean, it's hard to pick, Carly, with the slew of young guys that the Tigers have on this team, and then you add in like Miguel Cabrera, who is having a great season as a veteran. And I'm definitely going Candyman, but definitely tough to pick.
That is tough to pick. And I'm going to go against the grain. I'm not going to say anyone that you guys named. So my Tigers MVP probably would have been the Candyman. But you know what, you guys, I have to go. You know my favorite Tiger is Ron Gardner.
There you go. That's a good one.
I knew you were going to say that. I actually knew you were going to.
I laugh. He just cracks me up, and he's just a very chill guy. And I always love his answers, even like last night after a really tough game. He comes out, and I'm listening to him, and I'm like, oh, I'm excited for tomorrow. You know what? This doubleheader, it's going to be a great day. Like, I don't know. He has a very, very calm, and I'm not a calm person, as we all know. So, like, when I listen to him talk, I'm like, I need to be a little bit more like Ron Gardner.
Open your mouth, Carly.
I know. Sorry, Mark.
All right, we're done. All right, great.
Yeah, all right, great there. We went PG-13 for a minute. Now we're done. Thank you, Carly. Yeah. That was great. Always a fun segment. Guys. A big thank you to AAA for presenting Let's Socialize. AAA says thank you with free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. You guys, so almost 1:00, it's almost time to head over to Fox Sports Detroit and tune in to the pregame show for the Tigers double header today. First pitch is at 2:15. Tarek Skubal on the mound. Yzerman on the mound for the second game. Remember, those are 7-inning games. Tune in. It's going to be an exciting double header. Again, we're really excited to watch Tarek Skubal again. Also, if you missed anything on today's show, make sure you check out the Word on Woodward YouTube page, or you can listen to the show as a podcast on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. And a reminder that, of course, the Word on Woodward will be back next week. We'll talk about today's series with the St. Louis Cardinals and, of course, the weekend ahead of us. And we'll be back on Tuesday at 4 p.m. exclusively on DetroitRedWings.com and Tigers.com. Now, remember, head over to Fox Sports Detroit. Pregame starts in just 2 minutes. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.